There's definitely something to be said, I think, for this whole conversation about penalising the incident rather than the outcome or vice versa. And I think, arguably, based on what conversations have been going on, the nail in the coffin for Oscar Piastri is the fact he locks up during that corner, because then it gives the stewards the justification to say, well, he's not in control. So therefore, it's a reckless move. And it's a move I believe Oscar Piastri was always going to take because this is his championship opportunity. His rival is visibly ahead of him, and he's ahead of him on points. He's had a couple of messy races. Joward, is there ever a universe where this isn't a penalty to Oscar Piastri?
Oh, who knows, really? In my universe, I think it should have been a racing incident. And the point you make about him locking up and the stewards having the justification from that to say that he wasn't in control, thus giving him the penalty. Well, hearing him talk after the race, if he didn't lock up, what would he have done? It would have been even more reckless. He would have gone and potentially taken out two cars. So with that inside wall there, a disappearing gap. It's tricky, and yeah, it looks worse than it probably should have been. We heard Charles Leclerc as well say after the race that it was actually up to Kimi to have left a bit more space. Saw the Sky team on their Sky pad analyzing it as well, and while the gaps were pretty even between the three drivers going into turn one, as they all converged, it looked like Leclerc had, more space on the outside versus Piastri and Antonelli on the inside. So, I still think it would should have been a racing incident. Oscar was far enough up at the apex. So it was up to Kimi to leave perhaps a bit more room for him. But yeah, the whole precedent of penalizing the outcome versus the actual act itself is another contentious thing or contentious result we've seen from the stewards as well. I'm sure there will be critics out there who will say that, Oscar shouldn't have been in that position full stop. He should be further up, or, he's shooting like, relevant to a degree, but, also if we're judging it purely on an incident basis, if it was Lando in this situation or anyone else, I'm pretty sure would be saying the same thing. So, yeah, it's just one of those things where we've been very vocal on the show throughout the year about, some of the consistency in stewarding and, you know, unfortunately Charles, for no fault of his own ended up out of the race, but also it was racing, if we're not going to go for moves like that, then what are we here to do at the end of the day? So, we were on one hand praising, Lando in Singapore for the move that he made on the opening lap, and we're criticizing Oscar for this. We criticized him for Austin as well, but that was perhaps a bit more on the blatant side. But yeah, so got to decide ourselves too, like what do we consider racing and what we don't consider racing. And to me, that should have been a racing incident.
Yeah, in fact, what you've just said at the end, I think is definitely something that we as Formula One fans need to take into account. Do we want to follow the regulations, or do we want to be promoting racing and stuff? Because we're so subjective over whether, whichever driver basically falls afoul of the incident, determines whether we want to see the regulations brought down with an iron fist, or whether, we want to go, no, let them race, please let them race. Like one of the most hyped overtakes of the season was Charles Leclerc passing someone off the circuit in, was that Zandvoort or was it Mexico? Or it was earlier in the season, but post summer break, as far as I can remember. But yeah, we'll just subjectively choose which guidelines we want to enforce, and then as a mass mob online, we will defend or aggressively go after whoever it was that, our favorite driver fell foul of. But yeah, like if you're watching this or you're listening to it, head over to our socials or the comment section below. Let us know what you thought of this incident.